The sky turned red before the fire ever touched the ground. On the night of February 13th, 1945, the people of Dresden looked up and saw what they thought were flares, beautiful, drifting lights descending over the rooftops. Some even stepped outside to watch. Children pointed, couples paused in doorways. Then the sirens began to wail. At 10:03 p.m., the first wave struck. Lancaster bombers thundered overhead, their bellies opening to release thousands of high-explosive bombs. The ancient city shuddered. The first blasts tore through stone buildings, splintering churches and homes alike. Streets erupted, roofs disappeared in flame. But it wasn't over. It hadn't even started. This was the moment the city realized it had been marked for erasure. Dresden was known for its beauty, a city of art, music, and Baroque architecture. They called it the Florence of the Elbe. It held little military value, just a few factories, a rail junction. It had been spared major bombings for most of the war. Until now. The British RAF and American 8th Air Force had a new strategy: terror Flieger, shock and awe to cripple morale. The war in Europe was nearly over, but the bombers were still flying. And Dresden was next. At 1:22 a.m., a second wave came, far deadlier than the first. This time it wasn't just bombs. It was fire. Thousands of incendiary devices fell over the broken city, igniting everything left standing. The heat rose to over 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. A firestorm took hold. Flames devoured entire neighborhoods in minutes. Asphalt bubbled. Steel twisted. The air caught fire. Those who sought shelter underground found no escape. The heat sucked oxygen from the basements, suffocating anyone below. Above ground, people melted to the streets. Some tried to run, but their clothes ignited mid-sprint. Their lungs burned before their feet could carry them out. The firestorm created its own wind, hurricane-force gusts that hurled people through the air. Entire blocks were reduced to glowing ash. The temperature was so high that bodies turned to dust where they stood. Survivors described walls of fire roaring through alleyways, swallowing screams before they could be heard. And then, the third wave. At noon the next day, American bombers returned to finish what the fire hadn't. They struck train stations, bridges, and what remained of the city's infrastructure. Rescue workers were caught in the blasts. The injured, crawling through rubble, vanished in smoke and flame. By the time the bombing ended, Dresden was no longer a city. It was a silhouette. Almost 25,000 people died, though some estimates were much higher. Children, refugees, nurses, prisoners of war. Many were never identified. Some were never found at all. The heat had consumed them. The city that once glowed with golden domes and music halls now glowed only with embers. Was it necessary? That question still echoes. The Allies said Dresden was a communications hub. Others called it a war crime. But by then, necessity was a fading concept. The war machine moved on rails greased by momentum, anger, and vengeance. Dresden was simply caught in its path. The ashes cooled. The survivors crawled out. And in the silence that followed, the question remained, not just what was destroyed, but why. Thank you for listening to Last Post History. Subscribe for more true stories from the world at war.